Hey, welcome to Empowered AF 2.0. This is Mark Santiago, your host, CEO and founder of Empowered Man. Welcome to today's video podcast. We're going to be talking about something that a lot of guys have a lot of questions about. And honestly, it was something that I had to answer for myself personally. And every man should ask these questions and look at yourself and look at these signs and see if they're happening in your marriage. We call it the 5 signs your marriage is over. Okay, and it's important and imperative that you pay attention to each of these things. Why? Because most men are in denial. Most men are not paying attention to what is actually happening, and they live in this sort of denial bubble. Okay, and it's dangerous when you're in denial. When you're in denial, all kinds of shit is happening around you, but you don't pay attention. Why? Ignorance is bliss, right? We don't want to pay attention to what is actually happening.
This is fine.
This is why I got a lot of guys that come to me and they're like, can you just make it all go back to the way it was? No, I can't. And number one, why would you want to go back to the way it was? Because clearly the way it was wasn't working. If it was working, your wife wouldn't be doing what she's doing. Your wife wouldn't want to be getting out of the marriage. So why would you want to go back to something? That's why at Empowered Man, we don't focus on saving marriages. We focus on helping you create a new marriage. There's a huge difference between the two. We say that once your wife has had an affair, has moved out, has said, I don't love you anymore, has said she wants a divorce, any of those things happen, your marriage is over. We'll say this again, your marriage is over. The only way to move forward with her is to create a new marriage. And the only way to create a new marriage is to create a new way of living. And we call that thriving. We call that empowered living. So what today we're gonna do is we're gonna look at these 5 different signs of your marriage actually being over. So number 1, your wife is actively having an affair and doesn't plan to stop. I can't tell you how many guys I've had literally say, my wife asked me to drive me to her boyfriend's house. Like, what? What do you mean your wife asked you to drive her and you did it? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, this is the shit that I hear all the time. Or I'll hear shit like this. Well, my wife is going out on a date tonight and she asked me to watch the kids. Say, what? And you're still with this person? Like, you're still like hoping and trying to save your marriage? There's a good chance if your wife is actively having an affair and she knows you know about this affair and she doesn't plan to stop, you are fucked. And you need to stop being a bitch. Number 2, you've lost all hope or desire to reconcile. It's probably a good chance that your marriage is over, right? If you don't have hope, she doesn't have hope, what are we doing? Usually we're playing games. Usually we're staying for the wrong reasons. Usually we're acting as if, well, maybe if I just act like it's not happening, then it's not happening. But you've lost all hope or desire to reconcile, and it's probably over. The third thing is you're staying for the kids. Guys, this is the worst, one of the worst things you could ever do. Living in my toxic marriage that I remember asking my teenage daughter, and I said, how do you think, our relationship is? What do you think of mom and daddy's relationship? And she said, honestly, mom walks all over you. And I was like, wow. She's like, yeah, you just let her do whatever she wants. And she's mean, and she's not a nice person to you sometimes. And that really hit me because this is my teenage daughter whom I'm giving an example of what a man is supposed to be in a relationship. And the example I'm giving her is that she should marry a guy who gets walked all the fuck over. What kind of father was I? What kind of man was I to say, oh, this is what a healthy relationship looks like, where the wife walks all over the other person? And no one should be domineering anyone. But the fact is that if that's what my children saw, what am I teaching them? No, you see, when you stay for the kids, you're staying for the wrong reason. You're really staying because you're using them as your crutch, and you're not actually owning up to the fact that this thing is fucking over. Somebody needs to tell you that today. But there's a good chance if you're staying for the kids, it's over. Your kids are seeing the example. Your kids are living this thing. Let me tell you something else kids are doing. As they're feeling the trauma, even if you go, oh, we hide our arguments. Well, they don't know all the things. No, they know. Children are not stupid. They know. They feel it, literally in their body. The trauma doesn't lie. The next thing is, one or both of you lack repentance. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The fact is that you and or your wife have to decide to change their mind. You have to decide to make changes in how you approach and how you think. Because if you don't, your marriage is over. And there's no chance, not one chance, that you can have a new marriage if one or both of you lack repentance. In fact, I would say that the best chance is when both people have repentance. And I don't mean it in the religious standpoint, I'm talking about where you change your mind about how you approach your situation. You change your mind about how you see things. And the final piece is your wife has already filed for divorce. If your wife has already filed for divorce, it's pretty much over. And it's not even about reconciliation at that point. It's literally about you finding your power. Because this is where I meet so many men, is that these signs are showing up. Maybe 2 or 3 of these signs are showing up. And I'm not saying all these things so that you can like feel really bad and depressed and, whatever. I'm telling you these things because you need truth right now. You don't need someone to coddle you. You don't need a drinking buddy to be like, oh, fuck that bitch. You don't need someone to help you hit the she button. You need someone to help you hit the me button, where you finally start taking accountability for yourself. And you start looking in the mirror at the hard facts about how you showed up, how you contributed to the failure of your marriage, how you haven't been the man you should be. So while these 5 signs are clear about what the marriage is, what I want to ask you is, where are you showing up right now? What I want to ask you is how are you looking at these things, and are you blaming her for all these things? Are you looking at her and going, well, it's your fault, this is why we are here? Or are you saying to yourself, you know what, I've got some work to do? Because if you have work to do, then you can actually have and create a new family. See, at Empowered Man, we actually have this new slogan we've been saying, is that we save families by saving men. We save families by saving men. And what that looks like is that your family is not dead if a divorce happens. The relationship is dead. That's what divorce is, death to the relationship. But the family, the children are not dead. And maybe together you look different, and that's the thing. When I got divorced, my family wasn't over. I hear this all the time. Guys are like, oh, my family. Dude, your family's not over. It's just shifted. It's shifted it into a new place. And you can make that shift if you're working on yourself. But if you're a mess, you're emotional, you're depressed, you're all these things, you can't do that. You can't do that if you're staying for the kids. You can't do that if you lack repentance. You can't do that if you're just like focused on, well, she filed for divorce, so I might as well just give up now. No, fuck you in that giving up shit. You can't live that way. If you decide to live that way, you might as well crawl in a hole and fucking die. What is that teaching your kids? What is that saying about your future self? Because your future self is right now looking at you and going, hey man, you can either invest in yourself right now and become an empowered man, or you can crawl in a hole and die. I don't know about you, but I want to live, dude. It's up to you as to what you want to do. If you want to stay in that hole, stay in that hole. But if you want to live, if you want to thrive, then I highly recommend you get out of that hole and you make decisions, make empowered decisions to stop staying for her, to stop worrying about what she's doing, to stop making it about her and she buttoning it and being lost in your identity because you have no identity. I hear guys all the time say, well, I'm just lost. I don't know what she's going to do. I don't know. Dude, you being lost has nothing to do with her, has everything to do with your lack of identity as a man. Empowered men know who the fuck they are. They know what the fuck they want, and they go the fuck after it. Are you going to be that guy today? Or are you going to be that disempowered guy that just hits the she button? It's up to you.